This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show. Your war room for insider news and draft analysis from deep within the confines of Cowboys headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
And now, your host, Kyle Yeomans.
Today is January 23rd, 2025, and we are 91 days away from the NFL Draft in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Welcome in, everybody, to the Draft Show presented by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. It's Miller time, and it's time to talk draft. Might be time to hire a new head coach. We'll know very shortly here over the next couple of days, I think. We're starting to get a pretty good picture of it all, but we've got Nick Harris, Voch Lombardi, Tommy Yarish, Brian Broaddus. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Glad you're with us. Lots still to be decided in the building. It's kind of tough to really dive in until that decision has been made, but we'll hit that later on. One thing I do want to talk about, Nick, you sent me a quote from the new GM of the Tennessee Titans speaking on what it's going to take up at the front of the draft. And that's one thing we haven't mentioned yet is what could happen in front of the Cowboys at 12. He said, you don't want to pass on a generational talent at the number one pick.
He said,
overall.
we are not going to pass.
We are not going to pass on in terms of the Tennessee Titans. So that kind of begs the question, who's the generational talent that they're not going to pass on, and what else could fall in front of the first 11 picks?
There's a very clear generational talent in this draft, and his name rhymes with Bravis Bunner, you know? I think that's the obvious one. You could make the case that there's three, though. You can make the case for Abdul Carter. I think you can make the case. I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm saying you can make the case.
No, you go ahead and say it.
And I think you can make the case for Genty.
Yeah.
Those are the guys you can make the case for. You're not making the case for Shador. You're not making the case for Cam Ward. I don't think you're making the case for any of these other guys that are, rumored to go top 5. I think that they eventually fall on one of those three guys. But if he's coming out with a statement like that, and the odds yesterday in Vegas flip heavily into Travis Hunter's favor, I don't know. I think we might see Hunter go to Nashville. So.
They need a quarterback, though.
They do.
More than anything, but they've whiffed on some quarterbacks recently.
I mean, maybe Travis Hunter can air that thing out.
Oh, yeah? Speaking of generational talent.
We'll see.
Did you ever hear that type of talk from a brand new GM, Brian, back in the day?
Oh, it's absolutely. It's one of the things that when, I had the opportunity to run the draft in Philadelphia in 98, we were sitting there in the 11 hole. And, if I remember working with the scouts in Philadelphia and thinking that way about Randy Moss. And Jeff Lurie made the statement that, listen, Brian, I'm not comfortable taking the player. And I'm thinking, okay, well, sir, just know that he is this type of a player. He can be an absolute difference maker. I just don't feel comfortable taking him, Brian. And I'll wear that one. He goes, I'll wear that one if that's where we're going to go. And I said, well, yes, sir, you own this team. And we moved on. But, yeah, I think that every general manager, the older I've gotten, the more I want the best player, I want the healthiest player, and I want the most stable player in my first round pick. And I think if you find a guy that has all three of those traits, he's got a chance to be that type of player for you. So yeah, I surely appreciate what our GM there in Tennessee is trying to do.
What were the three elements there? You said stable.
Give me a guy that's outstanding the ability as a player.
Okay.
Give me the guy that's got the health, and give me the guy that's the stable guy. Absolutely.
Do you think Travis Hunter fits all three of those?
I think that Travis Hunter absolutely does.
Yeah.
I think Travis Hunter, if you really, really dive into Travis Hunter, you could see the fact that he plays at such a high level. The only player I kind of remember was a Charles Woodson, and I think Charles Woodson to me was a generational player. Matter of fact, it cost me my job here that with Charles Woodson, that I fought for him so hard that Bill Parcells wanted nothing to do with me after that point. But Charles Woodson went on even later with Green Bay and had a tremendous career. But I do believe that, and Travis Hunter. You watch how he plays in these games. You watch how he interacts with people. There's a lot of people he's having to deal with because of what social media is nowadays. He's having to, his own personal life is kind of getting dragged through the mud a little bit. And I think he's handling things very, very well. Very stable guy, outstanding player. And, the health of the guy, he's been banged up a little bit, not to the point where you would make you think about is he a guy that's always going to be hurt? I don't think that's the case with Travis Hunter.
What do you guys think about outside of Hunter, the guys that fit those three different molds in terms of a generational type of player?
I don't really use generational a lot because I would like for there to be a whole generation of players, prior to, you being the next dude, right? So Ashton Genty, right? Fantastic. I can't call him generational because 2 drafts ago we'll have another fantastic running back like this.
Bijan a couple years ago.
Sure. Yeah. So I think what you got to ask yourself with this, first of all, the GM owner, where he's probably lying, right? It's January. You're not going to show your hand in early January, late January, February, right? But let's just ask, just do a little game, play a little game. Do you take, with hindsight, Jaden Daniels? Mm-hmm. We know who Jaden Daniels is, franchise quarterback, or do you take generational Travis Hunter?
If I'm Washington, or is this just in general?
If you Tennessee and we have this time machine where we know who Jaden Daniels is, he's in this draft, he's versus Travis. Let's assume they don't like Cam Ward. That's why they talk like this.
I see what you're saying.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So let's take a generational player versus a quarterback that you feel like is going to hit. And
I'm
Jaden
taking
Daniels,
the quarterback.
Yeah, I'm taking Daniels. Yeah.
So you don't want to be Pittsburgh saying, okay, well, let's take Kenny Pickett just because he's a quarterback and Kenny Pickett is at a whole nother team.
And that was
now.
at the 24th overall pick, not the first overall pick.
So that makes it even worse. Yeah. So if it's me, man, if you trust the quarterback, take the quarterback. If you don't trust the quarterback, then take the player that you trust. I'm trusting Travis over Cam or Shador or whatever.
Do you trust these quarterbacks?
I trust Cam Ward at number one. I think that makes the most sense. And I'm with Vach. I think there's a little bit of coach speak / GM speak going on.
A little lying season early
on?
on?
I think it's a little hashtag lying season because later on in his press conference, he also said that they're going to turn over every rock to find their franchise-changing quarterback. And I think for the Titans, Cam Ward makes the most sense.
Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. How much are they going to pay him? What is it, $40 million?
All the money.
All the money. Okay. No, I think that, for them in their situation, I think quarterback makes the most sense. And I think that if they draft a guy like Cam Ward, then your GM's going to come back out and be like, oh, well, he's a generational talent, because there's your GM speak. Yeah. Because they want to sell it to the fan base. So I think they're just trying to sell it to the fan base. It's his first day on the job. Try and generate as much hype as you can. If they're going to draft a generational player, it's going to be Travis Hunter. But if they're going to draft their franchise-changing quarterback after they turn every rock, I think it's Cam Ward.
Okay. I ran into Cam Ward last night. He was at the North Texas basketball game.
Bowling Green.
I asked him to be on the show. He said no. He said media yesterday.
Come on, Cam.
That's okay. He's just hanging out. He's hanging out with his former head coach, Eric Morris.
Yeah.
Watch this just be a situation. It's like when the Cavs had the number 1 overall pick in 2013 and they drafted Anthony Bennett when there was really good. They're just going to draft like Nick Scowerton first overall. We're going to look back on that quote and be like, generational. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Wow. He is generational.
But like those kind of guys, they don't really save the day. Really, like Myles Garrett, right? Generational guy.
Yeah.
He's not the guy saving Cleveland, right? Like they got to look for quarterback, and they kind of let Baker go, and Baker's doing great things somewhere else. But like Mac didn't change the Raiders. Like what generational guy recently has changed that team so much where, hey, this generational dude changed the whole face of what we do, quarterback or not?
Are we talking number 1 overall? Because I think Mahomes. For sure.
That's different. He's a generational quarterback. I think that's kind of different.
So you're saying
but outside of
a non-quarterback generational player, when was the last time
one of the guys at the top of the list might be across the hallway, Micah? Look at the way that this 2020 Cowboys defense was, and then what it has become since then. He changed the face of the identity of the Cowboys franchise as the edge rusher, and a lot of that was Dan Quinn too. Don't get me wrong. They changed the identity, but I don't think you do that without Micah in the fold. But I get your point, and that's just one example along the way. Maybe Jamar Chase and what he did, but he's got a generational quarterback up there. He's got a great quarterback in Joe
Burrow.
That
guy, let me say this, and this is going to be way off that, probably like out of left field. That kid at the Raiders, that tight end, is got Brock Bowers. Yeah. I mean, if they get things kind of fixed up where they get the offensive line and you get a quarterback, and that kid has a chance to be a player that he could be as great as the Tony Gonzalez's and the guys, all those great tight ends that we've seen throughout history. I mean, the way that he makes plays, if he stays healthy, he is going to break a lot of tight end records. We saw a great one here for a number of years with Jason Witten. This kid's got a chance to be even better than that. And when you look at numbers and touchdowns and all those things, I think he could be a generational player for the Raiders.
What happens after Tennessee then? If we're talking about generational, we're talking about the possibility there of a quarterback or Travis Hunter. I think we can maybe say that's fair outside of Nick's scenario a moment ago. What happens with Cleveland, New York, New England, Jacksonville to round out that top 5? Where do you feel like they could lean?
Yeah, there's a need kind of across the board from 2 to 11. I think there's 2 positions that really stick out is edge and receiver. And I see the Browns going after Abdul Quader. I think that makes the most sense unless they really like one of these 2 quarterbacks and they fall to him. Giants, they're going to be looking for a quarterback. Patriots are going to be looking for an edge. Jaguars, you could be making the case that they could be looking for secondary. I mean, there's going to be some different positions that go before the Cowboys pick at 12, but I see receiver and edge as most likely.
Okay, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think Giants and Vegas, you're looking at quarterback, and then receiver and edge going to be something. Offensive line too. I could definitely see being a position that goes at run. You know, those top end tackles like a Will Campbell from LSU or Kelvin Banks from Texas. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they don't get out of the top 10. I mean, you look at teams like Chicago that could use one, Jacksonville, maybe even Vegas if they really like a guy and don't want to go the quarterback route, can take one there.
You have any positions up top, Vach, that have to go before 12?
Honestly, no, man. Just personally, I think they're just going to take the best dude. Like, whoever they think the best I don't think there's the best wide receiver has to go here because they need wide receiver. I think all these teams kind of suck equally or whatever, you know, so they're just gonna go, okay, we can use a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
So we'll just take Carter right here, or we could use so let's just take Mason Graham right here and just take the best guy, because
I think of BPA early.
If you're in that 2 to 5 range, you can't go, I need a receiver.
There you go.
But Mason Graham is much better than this receiver.
Yep.
So I'm going to take the receiver.
Yep.
I think maybe when you get down to like 8 or 9, that's when those guys start to go in for need more. But I think once you get past Graham and Carter and those guys and, you know, T-Mac and all that, then it'll kind of open up the board just a little bit. But you're not taking Kelvin Banks over Carter or over
Yeah.
Graham. No.
To me, there's a lot of questions about this offensive tackle group.
Yeah.
And then I think that's going to scare some people. I mean, especially, and I keep saying this, I think, though, when you get to the top of that board, you want to take the best player and you want to take the healthiest one, the most stable one. That's the 3 things that I gave you right there. You want to do everything in your power to eliminate any potential mistakes that you're going to make. And that when you're in the top 5, there is no reason to gamble on guys. You take the guy that looks like to be, and there's no reason not to take the Hunters and the Carters and the Genties. And to my point, even McMillan, you know, from Arizona. There's guys like that. I tell you what, if Simmons was the tackle from Ohio State was healthy, he would be in that mix for me too. But there's a lot of corners. I just think you take the guy that can absolutely cover all and check all those boxes we talk about all the time, and then now worry about things at the top of the 2nd round, the top of the 3rd round, and then work your draft from there.
So does that approach where I know in the past we've wanted quarterbacks to go early. Every quarterback possible go in the top 10 picks, top 11 picks, or whatever it is leading into the Cowboys. Does that BPA mindset of we don't want to risk it in the top 10, top 11 picks help or hurt the Cowboys? I think, if anything, it probably hurts them.
Yeah, it definitely hurts, because what you're going to have to do is now you're trying to kind of figure out, you know, the other teams, if they're taking their best players off their board, that's going to hurt you for where you're going to as well, because you're all looking at the same players. But, you know, you're going to be on the very edge of your window potentially of a 1st round grade on your board. Not to say that taking it player 16 on your board or 17 is a bad thing, but you would like ultimately to try and navigate this thing where you take somebody out of your 1st round stack.
Have you done a mock draft yet, Nick?
No.
Not this early on?
No, I try to stay away until after Combine.
Okay. Has anybody done one yet, looking at just where it's going to end up? I know, Vach, you do a couple on the YouTube channel,
I do
right?
not. Mock drafts are goofy. I hate them. And if you're doing them, everybody's not going to. They'll never take Abdul Carter 2nd over. You don't know what you're talking about. Like, people hate mock drafts, but they love to look at them.
Yeah.
But they hate you for picking. Nobody knows what's
How many are in your mentions right now?
I don't even count them because they're not going to upset my soul. But we do look at other people do mocks, and sure, and that's why we kind of have a feeling that, okay, well, Carter may be the first, you know, non-Travis Hunter guy to go. Oh, well, Mason Graham is always right in that Jacksonville range.
Yeah.
And, you know, Campbell from LSU, he's he's always a bear in these three.
Or a jet or whatever.
Always one of those guys, right?
Yeah.
So I think the mock drafts are what they are right now. I think Senior Bowl and Combine is going to happen. I think it's going to shake it up one more time. But I think the top 12 or so guys, I want to say is locked in, but I think people are going to poke some more holes in some of these edges up there. You know, Michael Williams. I've been seeing him a lot in these top 10s or so. I think they're going to keep poking some holes in him. He may end up out of that top 12 or so conversation, but for the most part, I think the top 5 or 7 is going to be the same.
What do you feel like the safest bet is for Dallas to have there available at 12?
That's a good question. I feel like Genty will be there.
You think so?
I think so.
Okay.
Any
Brian,
reason? Any reason?
Top 5.
Yeah. Any reason the Bears would take him with the new head coach that they have? The fact that the way that they draft or the way they sign running backs, the way they use running backs.
They got a block for him first, right?
Well, I tell you one thing though. If you've ever watched Barry Sanders play football or Walter Payton play football,
they ain't need him.
You know what? The blocking, like I say, to me, when you take a guy like Ashton Genty, say here, and Dallas's offensive line, I think has got some promise. It's not anywhere where it needs to be, like what you have in Philadelphia or some of these other teams that run the ball really, really well. I think the back, a back that can make people miss, I think is really, really important because Ashton Genty will allow you to be able to run the ball as you're developing your offensive line. And so that's why when people say you can't take a back in the first round, well, if you have an offensive line that isn't great, a great back will make a bad offensive line or a poor offensive line better.
What do you think?
No, I'm with you. I completely agree, and that's why I think he could be there for Dallas. I just think the Bears they just signed DeAndre Swift last offseason.
Sure.
Drafted Roschon Johnson a couple of years ago. I think they like what he's done for them so far. Use him a little bit more towards the end of the season. Caleb Williams got sacked, 80 times last year?
No question.
They really need help on the offensive line. So I think that's kind of the direction that they would lean.
No,
Just
I
a double.
I understand the thing about the line and all that stuff, but you got to also remember though that is a absolute new coaching staff there,
right?
And they didn't draft any of those guys,
right?
They inherited these players, right. Is what they've done.
Brian's point: if y'all just go watch Genty versus Oregon, right, like that first Oregon game, Derek Harmon beat the hell out of everybody on that Boise State offensive line. And Genty still found a way to find 190 some yards, something like that. Goofy, ridiculous. So even if your line's not perfect, just don't have 5 bad offensive lines. Just have 1 of 5, and Genty will help you with the rest.
Yeah. I like how the NFL script is starting to play its factor here. He said Walter Payton and Barry Sanders. Walter Payton was pretty good in Chicago. Barry Sanders played in Detroit. And Chicago just got their new head coach from Detroit. So it's all coming together. It's all connected in the NFL.
You just manifested Genty to the Packers.
To me, this is Packers. But yeah, this is where, like I say, when you start to talk about Dallas, clearly, I don't know about you guys. When we get down to it at 12, if Genty is, I guarantee you're going to ask everybody in the room who's the best player on the board, Genty. And every one of us is going to say Genty, unless in fact
he's there at 12.
Hunter doesn't get picked or something like that. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be some guys that are going to get picked off that board behind Genty. And then when you ask us, it's going to be Genty. And when they don't pick him, then we'll just all move on. And they said, well, they probably needed a Buka or somebody else that they felt like that maybe Banks. And there's nothing wrong with those picks. There's nothing wrong. But you're going to ask us.
Oh, absolutely.
And the way I believe that we're going to stack our boards is that Genty is going to be one of the top guys.
Hey, man, we have 93 days to find an Abdul Carter gas mask video.
Yeah.
That's a long AI, baby. That's a long time.
I tell you, who all's going to the combine? We need to work on this
We
now.
can make this happen. We'll put it all together.
I call the guy.
All right, let's take our first break. When we come back, it's time for some Twitter on the 20. One of the questions involves moving Cooper Beebe back to guard. Is that a possibility, and what could that open up from the NFL draft? We'll talk about it right after this with more of the Draft Show.
Here we go. Tyler from Dude Perfect here. Big news. We just dropped our very own Dude Perfect smoothie with Smoothie King.
We is strong. It's my recipe.
Technically, we all came up with it, Kobe.
I mean, you put a potato in yours.
I was experimenting.
Yeah, we picked up on that. Guys, this is fruit smoothie perfection. I even heard it recently quoted that it was food perfect.
Yeah, I was one that said that.
Oh, that's funny. It's punny.
Thank you. Anyways, get the Dude Perfect smoothie only at Smoothie King.
my smoothie.
Hi, Drew Pearson, former Dallas Cowboy and now Pro Football Hall of Famer here. If you're struggling with your vision and tired of those contacts and glasses, don't throw a Hail Mary. Go where I went. Laser Care Eye Center, the official LASIK partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Drew, thank you so much for trusting us with your vision correction procedure. At Laser Care Eye Center, we offer 6 different vision correction procedures to help patients see.
Check them out at dfweyes.com. Tell them Drew sent you. Hood hood.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
Cowboys fans, when it comes to navigating the ever-changing world of tax, your business needs a partner it can trust to tackle even your biggest tax challenges. Ryan is the largest firm in the world dedicated exclusively to business taxes. Our team of tax professionals has local expertise in all areas of tax and can help you uncover savings opportunities you didn't know you had. Learn more about how Ryan can improve your overall corporate tax performance by visiting Ryan.com. Ryan, the official tax partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
The PBR World Finals are returning to AT&T Stadium in 2025. It all starts on May 16th with Kid Rock's Rockin' Rodeo. Then on May 17th and 18th, the finalists compete in the 2025 PBR Championship. Let's rock and ride. Tickets are on sale now at SeatGeek.com, the official ticketing provider of AT&T Stadium. Welcome back into the Draft Show. You're a big PBR guy, right, Nick?
No. I used to be when I was a kid. I'm not going to lie. Back when I was out in East Texas being a little country boy.
Yeah?
Yeah, but not these
Did you
days.
do like the mutton busting where you rode the sheep? You ever do that?
I don't even know what the hell that is.
Yeah, you like ride it. They like put you in a cage with a sheep and then they let it go and the kid's supposed to like hold on and ride the sheep across like the rodeo grounds. It's a thing.
It's a lot of fun.
I did it back in the day. Yeah.
It's fun to imagine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a video of me out there somewhere. Not out there, but like my parents have it in a drawer somewhere where it's like a camcorder video of me just getting bucked off a sheep.
Big Central Texas vibes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Waco, Texas, baby. Born and raised. All right. Chris Beam, you know what time it is. It's time for
Twitter on the 20.
There we go. Twitter on the 20. First question. This is the one I teased going into the break. It's a first-time question from Caden in Frisco. Okay. Caden asked, what about the opportunity to flip Cooper Beebe back to guard, where he was, of course, traditionally playing at Kansas State? And if that's the case, are there any centers that would allow you to do so in this year's NFL draft?
Yeah, that was a specific Caden in Frisco that asked me this exact same question yesterday. This is fascinating. The center class is not as fun as it was last year. Mm-hmm. That's first point.
No Zach Frazier's.
No, there's no Zach Frazier's, no Graham Barton's, even BBs where you could like see the possibility of a slide in. I think though there's a lot of experience, and I wonder how the experience will translate whenever these guys get brought in for 30 visits, whenever they get met for formal interviews at Combine, and how those guys might poke up some boards. You look at Seth McLaughlin out of Ohio State. That's a guy with a ton of experience. Jake Majors at Texas, ton of experience.
McLaughlin's hurt, right?
Yeah. Parker Brailsford out of Alabama, a lot of experience. Jake Slaughter out of Florida, you get the point. I think I wonder how this experience will translate whenever that time comes around. But as I see it right now, I'd keep BB where he's at. I mean, he played there his whole rookie season. He played damn well. I think it's harder to find a center in this league than it is to find a guard. And go ahead and lock down BB for what you have and find your guard at the same point.
Well said.
Yeah, I think if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I think he played well enough at center to keep him there. And if it becomes a problem, I mean, that may be the point where you consider it. But I agree, this center class. I mean, I like Slaughter from Florida. I think he played really well this year. He finished as an All-American on the first team. Great run blocker. 800 snaps this year, and he's played in at least 12 games in each of his last 3 seasons at Florida. So there's experience there. I know Nick and I were talking about Jake Majors from Texas yesterday as a guy with a bunch of experience. So there's options there, but I don't think any of those options are better than Cooper Beebe.
Botch, who did you talk? You and I did a show. Did you have somebody that you would move from tackle to center? Was it Bo?
Marcus Bow?
Bo. Is it Bo?
Bo.
Purdue.
Yeah.
He's a tackle for me, but people will have him at guard. But I don't like small guards. He's like 300
pounds, yeah.
I don't like small guard. But I do think that he'll be a great center because he's very athletic. He can move around, all this kind of stuff. But I still like the heavy, powerful center. That's my personal preference. So what I was saying last year, just on YouTube talking, I want my center to be strong again. So let's either get a strong center or let's get a guard and make him center. And snapping and stepping is tough.
It is tough.
Snapping and stepping is a lot of butt turning that you got to do. All this adjustments. When you at guards, you're really just flying off and just whooping people. It'll hurt me to look at BB and say, man, look, you spent 365 days learning how to snap and step. Go back to guard. I wouldn't want to do that. What I would want to do is keep him there and keep center strong and take Tyler Smith and keep left guard strong and find you a powerful right guard, assuming Zach's not going to be here. And let's just be strong in the middle and let's just move A gap. Let's move B gap. I don't want to go back to the days where you got to hide center. Biotish was cool, but Biotish was this stalemate guy. Hat on hat guy is what they called it, right? You just line up hat on hat, run your feet, hope for the best, and the running back would just pick a hole. That's cool. But I want bodies to hit the floor. So I'm fine with BB coming back probably stronger, probably neck a little thicker because of the offseason peanut butter that they give him around here to just make people big for no reason. And let's get another strong guard up in here and let's go boogie. Tate Radledge from Georgia. Let's go get him. Bring him in.
How do y'all feel about Tyler Booker? I mean, he was left guard mainly at Alabama.
He's a killer.
Yeah.
Stud. That's a perfect example. Put him right there. And let's be strong. If you have two powerful guards and a powerful center, you can live with question marks at tackle like we have. You understand what I'm saying? You can live with, all right, Luke Schoonmaker, just chip out there and everything inside is going to be just fine. Let's run the ball up the middle.
That would give Tyler Guyton enough opportunity to grow into his own, whether it be at left tackle or right tackle. Either one of those would be an option if you've got a strong
I just believe if you correct the penalties with Guyton, I think you'll have a better player.
Yeah.
I think that's where people they're focusing on, should you move him back to right tackle? Well, you've played him over there. Unfortunately, he got injured this season, and it caused him to miss some training camp and some games and all that. But if you watch him play, it's the penalties that were the problem. It wasn't the overall play. It was just the penalties.
It's a good place to start overall. Nate asked, what positions on this team can you confidently, in all caps, confidently say you do not need to draft another player? Is there a single position on this roster where you feel like you are good?
Maybe after free agency, we'll have a better, clear answer of that. But
as we stand right now.
Left guard in particular, you'll probably find,
tight end.
I don't even think it's tight end. I think you could draft a tight end in the fifth round.
I still have confidence in Ferguson and Schoonmaker moving forward, and I like some of the undrafted guys like Brevin Spann-Ford and John Stevens. I know he hasn't played a whole lot, but I think I'm confident at tight end. But I know people out there that are
they don't have enough picks to
even get
fill.
there.
Kyle, this is to me, and this is just my thought. You're about to have a second round of potentially losing a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
When you're talking about Golston, you're talking about Jordan Lewis, you're talking
in free agency.
Yeah. We're about to have the second purge. And you don't really want to go that way. They don't have enough picks and maybe not enough cap space to potentially fill all the holes that they're going to have. I don't think there's any position that you could say that you can't draft and it would help your team right now. I'm sure people would say quarterback, but you know what? You don't have a backup quarterback right now. And your quarterback has been getting hurt here as of late, so you might want to consider that too.
Yeah, your backup quarterback right now is Will Grier moving forward in a reserves contract moving forward.
Yeah.
Were you going to say something?
Man, I forgot. Okay, so Jake, right? You feel confident about Jake Ferguson?
Yeah.
Is Jake going to be a guy that's going to be around for a long time? Or do you think the Cowboys are going to turn tight end into like a factory type thing where we're just going to draft the fifth rounder this year? Well, we'll bring another undrafted guy and just keep rotating the guys.
I'll throw in a conversation I had with one of the front office members earlier this season, and he said when they were going through the players across the board to keep long-term in Dallas, they sat down right after the Dak Prescott deal was done, and as they were talking and going through it, they went with Dak, and he said, which guys do you want? Yeah. The first guy Dak pointed to was Jake Ferguson.
Sure.
He'll be around for a long time. He's going to be around for a minute. So they're going to invest in Ferguson, and they're going to invest in getting him right moving forward for sure.
Your tight end 1, Harold Fannin from Boston College.
Tight end 2, but he's in that conversation.
A tight end you love. We just talked about.
Yeah.
Who's your tight end 1?
Bowling Green, right? Danny Bowling Green.
Bowling Green. Yeah. Let's just assume that the league just made all kind of mistakes, and he's at the top of the board in the 3rd round for you.
Yes.
And Jake's your guy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to see where we at with this.
But that I think is more of an indictment on Luke Schoonmaker more than anything.
Sure.
Luke Schoonmaker right now is a bust of a 2nd-round pick. He hasn't lived up to that expectation. I don't think that's necessarily an indictment on Ferguson and what he could bring.
I think tight end, you're going to live and die by 4 at this point. Dak, right?
Sure.
So if Dak's not there, we may not have great tight end play. If Dak is playing, let's go, all right, Luke, are you good with Dak? No, not really.
It's
or
mostly
all
Ferg.
these other guys are, it's mostly Ferg, right? So you just got to ask, is Ferg going to be a long-term guy attached to Dak? Mm-hmm. Is Dak going to be here past 3 years? We just got to have questions like that.
Sure.
And so I just think when we're looking at tight ends, do we stop, because we only got so many picks, do we not look at tight end if we feel confident about Jake Ferguson or not? I don't think Ferguson's done enough to be like a new coach-proof guy or like a new quarterback-proof guy. Mm-hmm. If Dak retires today, are we sure Jake's going to be here?
That's fair.
I'm not positive.
There was a point in the season last year, it was probably like 8 or 9 weeks in, I think it was right around the Atlanta game, when a coach on this team said off the record that Hunter Lipke was the 2nd-best tight end on this team.
Yeah.
And if they feel like that midway through a season, it doesn't matter how Schoonmaker finishes a year or how John Stevens Jr. bounces back from another ACL injury, they got to go get a guy. Yeah. I'm firmly in the belief that they're going to go get a tight end this year.
Where would you put Hunter Lipke in that list of
1
tight ends? I figured. Love some Hunter Lipke. All right, this is from Calvin. This will be interesting. You guys are going to have to listen here. This is a pick your fighter in the first 3 rounds. Going back here. All right, first option, Kelvin Banks, Caleb Johnson, and Jaden Higgins.
This is first round?
First 3 rounds for the Cowboys. Okay. These are different scenarios along the way.
Let me go find this tweet.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so you said Banks?
Yeah, Kelvin Banks, Texas.
Johnson.
Caleb Johnson, help me out on school here. Iowa. Jaden Higgins.
Iowa State.
So you're going straight Big 12 and former Big 12 there. Oh, I guess Iowa's Big 10. Never mind. Forget I said that. But Banks, Johnson, Higgins are the 3 first-round picks there, or 3 first 3-round picks there. Next one is Luther Burden from Missouri. Deonnie Walker. Is that how you say it? Deonnie Walker.
My bad.
Deion Walker.
Deion Walker.
Kentucky.
Ollie Gordon, running back from Oklahoma State. That's your second option.
We need to have a fascinating conversation about Ollie Gordon at some point.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And then Ashton Jeanty starts off the last option, of course, running back from Boise State. Xavier Restrepo, wide receiver from Miami. And then TJ Sanders at the end of that one. You want me to repeat it all again? Kelvin Banks, Caleb Johnson, Jaden Higgins. That's your first option. Luther Burden, Deion Walker, Ollie Gordon is your second option. Ashton Jeanty, Xavier Restrepo, TJ Sanders is your third option. Where are you going?
Is option 3? Is option 3 the best one here?
To me, on my board, option 3 would be a 1, a 3, and a 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what would be on my board.
I agree with that.
What would your other ones be? Banks, Johnson, and Higgins.
Banks would be a 1. Mm-hmm. Johnson would be a 2. Higgins would be a 3.
So that's in order to the rounds. So that's fair assessment. Burden, Walker, and Gordon.
Burden would be a 1. Walker would be a 2. Gordon, I have not looked at yet.
Okay, and that's fair. He's kind of down the list, I think, right now. Burden as a 1, kind of intriguing. Is how many first-round grades do you have at wide receiver?
3.
3 of them?
McMillan, Burden, and Ibuka.
Okay.
If you trade out Gordon for best running back available, because I think Gordon's going to be like a day 3 guy. Mm-hmm. So if my Gordon,
what happened to him?
Travion Henderson or something like that, then I'm taking.
You said Gordon?
Yeah.
We've got time to have that conversation now if you want to have that conversation.
Bad offensive line in the past year. I think paired with a lot of issues in Stillwater. I mean, you start the year, Ollie Gordon.
Him and the head coach.
You start the year with him having the DUI like 2 weeks before the season started.
Sure.
Yeah, like right before camp, right?
Yeah, and then you go into the year with a bad offensive line, an offensive line that gets hurt. Yeah. Now, granted, he's 6 foot. He's a huge kid, 6'2", 225 pounds.
Yeah.
It's like he should be able to make guys miss. Wasn't necessarily making guys miss. I think his like missability was a lot more in focus this year. Whereas last year he had an offensive line. He had guys in front of him. He had a competent quarterback with him. He had competent weapons around him, and it's why he was the Doak Walker winner in 23. I think he suffered behind an offensive line. And it begs the question, if he goes to a school or if he goes to a program that does not have a successful offensive line, can he succeed? And I don't know if that's the case. And that shouldn't be the case for a guy that's 6'2", 225 pounds. He should be a guy that's like, hey, we can draft this guy. Our offensive line might not be the best, but he's a big tank bowling ball. He'll fight forward for extra yardage. I don't think he uses his frame to his best advantage, whereas we've seen that from him in years past. I think mileage could be a thing because he carried the ball so often in high school at U.S. Trinity. I think high school mileage definitely needs to be factored in when you talk about Ollie Gordon. And then you go to Oklahoma State. Granted, he didn't really pick up that starting role until about week 3 of 2023, but once he did, they leaned on him a lot in 23.
He had 285 carries in 23.
And that was like in 10 games as a starter. And like those first 3 games, he had like 10 carries total. So
and then last year,
really carried him through.
He still put up 190 carries last year, too.
Look, I'm an Ollie Gordon believer. I put a third-round grade on him. I'm an Ollie Gordon believer, but I think he needs to have a good offensive line to succeed.
Where would you, in relation to Samson, Tennessee,
behind.
Harvey, Central Florida,
Behind. Yeah.
Junkins, Ohio State, Neal, Kansas?
In front. I'm not as big on Neal as everyone else.
Okay.
Somebody asked about Neal here. What is the consensus on Devin Neal from Kansas? That's Michael's question.
That's still one I need to go back because I gave him an in-season grade, and I still need to go back and watch like his full season.
Sure.
I love the production. He only missed 1 game in his entire career. He had 3 straight seasons over 1,000 yards. I mean, the production's there. Don't get me wrong. I don't know. I get
traits.
I'm scared of Blake Corum doing this again this year, where I look at the production. I'm like, I don't care what he looks like. I see the production. I'm scared of doing that again, and I think Devin Neal's starting to factor into that mind process.
Would Ollie Gordon, if say he came out in 24, this previous draft,
the last draft,
would he be up there with Johnson from Iowa, Hampton from North Carolina?
Yeah,
Henderson.
I think he probably would have been RB1 last year.
Probably a second-round RB1, right?
Yeah, a second-round RB1 last year.
God, which one is he, guys? Which one is he?
Yeah.
Is he the second-round dude or is he the third-round dude?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's the question that NFL seems to
No,
ask.
you're scared. It's our little draft room here. You're scaring the hell out of me right now with off-the-field stuff.
Yeah.
You know, because I've seen a running back here that, likes to do things off the field and then, and took a lot of carries,
I'll say this about Ollie Gordon. Known the kid since he was 15.
Yeah.
I don't have character concerns with Ollie Gordon.
Okay.
I think he made a
Partier?
Yeah, but what college student in Oklahoma State?
Well, no, but I'm saying because I think it affects.
I don't think it's a major thing.
Okay.
I don't think it's
because see that's the questions I would ask you if we were sitting in a war room right now and you'd start talking to this guy and I would think, why is this guy slowing down? Because you are scaring the hell out of me right now with the way you're describing him as, hey, last year, Brian, he was this.
Yeah.
This year, he's this.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out, was it an offensive line? Was it a coach that was getting, the coach there's a little crazy to begin with. Sure. Maybe they didn't get along, But you're scaring the hell out of me about this player right now.
Kind of playing along with the War Room-esque type of question here. Would there ever be a point when you are scared in this regard and you're not liking what you're hearing one way or the other?
Oh, I trust my scout.
You trust him?
I trust my scout, but I need him to tell me why. Why was he, if he came out last year, why is he a second-round guy, and why did he fall off so badly, and are we going to get a player that's on the decline?
So the pressure
it's
in
on
a War
him.
Room scenario is on
you. Got to tell me why.
Yeah, I would say it's
because I haven't seen the player.
Yeah,
I mean, and I'm going to see the player myself. I feel like I've watched a lot of these. Rutgers and Auburn. They've all got everybody's got running backs. But by the way you're talking, I'm interested about the player from the previous year. This player scares the hell out of me.
In this class, I wouldn't take him.
In this class?
In this class, I would not take him.
Okay.
With the names that are,
with
the names that I would expect to be right there, you could look at Damian Martinez out of Miami, who has got the same type of physical traits, 6', 232 pounds. Yeah. I think he's going to be the guy that gives you a little bit more effort in those situations and can fight forward. Taj Brooks, I think he'll be there in the 3rd round. That's another bowling ball type at 5'10", 230. Kyle Monungai, not necessarily bowling ball type, but 5'9", 209. That's a guy I would take in that situation.
We talked about him last night. That's a good player at Rutgers.
I love Monungai. See, 5'9", and I think he's the best pass protector in this class.
I think you make a good point, Nick, because just how running back is, like it gives you a luxury to go, okay, we'll just pass on Gordon because there's so many of them. Do we do the same thing with like a pass rusher or something like that, or like maybe a wide receiver? So our wide receiver from Ohio State, how you say his name? Ibuka, right? His 2022 film, right? Fantastic. CJ Stroud throwing the ball all over. Boy, we are top tier here, right? But if you look at his numbers now, they kind of down a little bit. But you can directly look at that and go, okay, well, it's a big difference between quarterback here. But if you have like a premium dude, edge, wide receiver, offensive line, whatever, and you don't know why they're bad, or you don't have a great reason, you can really have faith in that reason.
Yeah.
We don't know why Gordon ain't as good as he was. Like, Nick gave a lot of reasons, but it's not as clear as, oh, yeah, my quarterback just wasn't as good, and it just fell off. So I'm passing on Gordon. He's probably a great player, and Gordon will probably go to New England or something and be fantastic and get 1,000 yards.
10 years.
He'll probably be fantastic. But I'm just not roll the dice guy with these type of situations.
That's an interesting conversation. It really is. I appreciate the insight on both sides because that's what a war room's like. You have a scout that's known the guy for a significant amount of time, having a conversation with him, with the people around him, and then you get challenged by the front office in order to do so.
He did a great job of painting the picture of the player. The thing about it is, like I said, that's we with the way the board's set up, though, he just told me, he goes, I wouldn't draft this guy.
Yep.
But we got to give the players due, and you got to put them on your board. But he said, and then as a room, as if I was the director and he said that, then I would say, okay, put him down there at the bottom of the board and let's go to the next player.
Yeah, if he were to fall, though, and we're looking up day 3, mid-day 3, we finally got our first pick in the 5th round and we don't have a running back yet, I'd bring that conversation back up.
Okay.
But not, I think with the names that
So you're not taking him off your board. You're just pushing him further down.
Yeah.
He's not really a 3rd or 4th round guy is what he sounds like right now.
Which is difficult because if this – we have the full context of Ollie Gordon. We're in 2024.
Right.
I think you would make the case that you could still draft him in the 3rd round. You could put him in that conversation with, I'm trying to think of the run that went in the 3rd round last year, like Corum and Irving. Yeah, I think he went in the 4th. But yeah, I think you could put him in that conversation and you'd feel comfortable. Hey, I think you can draft this kid. But with the way this class is set up, specifically, there's going to be a lot of backs that fall that would be a lot higher in other classes. And I think he's going to be prime example number 1.
You had Blake Corum last year in the 3rd. You had Marshawn Lloyd out of USC last year in the 3rd.
So he gives me Lloyd vibes. Yeah.
Okay.
He would give me Lloyd vibes in that.
Jalen Wright was in the 4th.
See, I really liked Lloyd. Now you're really messing me up.
And then there was that run of
he went to
Irving,
Green Bay.
Shipley, Davis, Garrindo in the 4th.
He went to Green Bay, didn't he? After Dallas picked.
Yep.
And I was like, damn.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? That kind of thing. Yeah.
Right. Great conversation. I love it. When we come back, we're going to talk wide receivers. I want to hear some of the names that are at the top of this draft that we haven't done a scouting report on, because wide receiver is a hot button topic, especially if your new head coach is an offensive-minded head coach. Where could the wide receivers fall in this 1st round? We'll talk about some of the names we haven't mentioned yet when we come back right after this with more of the Draft Show.
I'm Darren Woodson, former Dallas Cowboy player and Super Bowl champion. When I played in the NFL at a high level, I relied on my vision to see the field. As I started getting older, I noticed my vision wasn't as good, and I was getting frustrated from wearing my glasses all day. I went to Laser Care Eye Center, and Dr. G talked about all the options. Thanks to technology and Laser Care Eye Center, I can see near, far, and between. Don't fumble your vision any longer. Visit them at dfweyes.com and tell them Darren sent you. They got me back on my game.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with pre-game sideline access and photo ops with current players, cheerleaders, and Cowboy legends. You want to stay at a team hotel, attend the best tailgate party in Texas, tour the Star, and talk X's and O's with me, Everson Walls? With Star Sports Tours, you can. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
Here we go. Tyler from Dude Perfect here. Big news. We just dropped our very own Dude Perfect smoothie with Smoothie King.
We is strong. It's my recipe.
Technically, we all came up with it, Kobe.
I mean, you put a potato in yours.
I was experimenting.
Yeah, we picked up on that. Guys, this is fruit smoothie perfection. I even heard it recently quoted that it was food perfect.
Yeah, I was the one that said that.
Oh, that was funny. It was punny.
Thank you. Anyways, get the Dude Perfect smoothie only at Smoothie King.
my smoothie.
How about them Cowboys? Or how about them Tyson Cowboys Nuggets? As we cheer for the stars on the field, we love that we've also got some stars on our plate, thanks to Tyson brand star-shaped Cowboys Nuggets. That, along with all our other favorite Tyson Foods products, sure make game day special. Score some delicious Tyson Cowboys Nuggets and become a game day star, just like our Cowboys. As you enjoy your stars on and off the plate, remember, tailgates and game day have always been Tyson.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Back here on the Draft Show, come on out to AT&T Stadium on February 22nd for the Monster Energy AMA Supercross Championship Series. Watch the world's best two-wheel racers converge for one night of nonstop action. Enjoy unprecedented access to the sport's biggest stars with an up-close view of their race bikes and team rigs at FanFest. Tickets are on sale now at SeatGeek.com, the official ticketing partner of AT&T Stadium. Alongside Nick Harris, Foch Lombardi, Tommy Yarish, Brian Broaddus, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Glad you're with us. Want to talk wide receivers with the Cowboys sitting at 12 and, of course, with an elite wide receiver on the roster, but not a whole lot else out there for the Cowboys this season. Wide receiver is a hot-button topic at the 12th overall pick for Dallas fans out there. We've mentioned a lot of the names already. We've mentioned Teteroa McMillan from Arizona. We've mentioned Luther Burden from Missouri, Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State. Lots of possibilities here. I want to hit some of the names that maybe we haven't had the opportunity to dive in on yet. And feel free to add names too.
Can I ask a question in on this on your path?
Sure.
Can you put a caveat on that? Give me somebody you would pair with CeeDee Lamb.
So this is war room.
Yeah, give me somebody that, listen, we're probably looking at our second wide receiver here.
Mm-hmm.
Probably looking at an X. You guys got any mind on some X? Because, I mean, we got a lot of guys that could play the X and play in the slot and all that. Hell, Iowa State throws Higgins in the slot a lot. But is anybody got an X that they're falling in love with?
I mean, at 12, if he falls, Teteroa
maybe at 44. Give me a guy at 44 that you might.
A bit later.
Yeah, 44 that you might. You got it. Do you have any X's that we talk about?
Falling in love is tough because all the players that I fall in love with move around all over the formation, just like CeeDee Lamb. They're probably best in the slide, just like CeeDee Lamb. But we've already mentioned them, kind of, sort of. But Savion Williams, TCU.
Yeah.
You know, big body guy.
Yeah.
They can say that he has some catch issues, but what the hell is coaching for, man? Teach that dude how to concentrate catch. But I think what makes him pair with Lamb is that they're both yak guys. So if there's ever a way that, all right, we're just going to take Lamb out the game and we don't want him doing yak stuff and make him hard to tackle, cool. Savion, big ass over there, is also hard to tackle. And, hey, you can do some creative, fun things with some type of Turpin, Savion, CeeDee Lamb, movement type things. And just because Savion is your ex-guy because he's built that way, he's also a dude that can line up in the slot or line up in the backfield and do weird things like that. Assuming that our new coach or our new offense coordinator can, creatively use a guy like that. But I think if you could just full-time make him ex-guy and move him sometimes, I think he'll pair with Lamb well.
Did you say Trey Harris?
Trey Harris, Ole Miss.
Okay.
There you go. Talk about that, man.
I'd said he's the best X in the class behind T-Mac. I
agree with you.
I haven't watched Williams from TCU yet, but I've heard a lot of murmurs about the drop issues and the Quentin Johnston pass kind of deters me a little bit. Not saying that he's Quentin Johnston at all.
Don't scout the helmet, Tommy.
I understand.
Don't say Rieger either. That's another one.
Josh Dotson.
Josh Dotson.
Damn. I take it back.
What are you guys doing in Fort Worth?
We got to turn it around, fellas.
It's a good-looking player, though.
I thought he's unbelievable in 50-50 ball. Watching some of the games, sorry, Brian, but LSU.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Texas A&M.
Absolutely.
Were the two games that I watched. Really good frame and athleticism. He can go up and fight for any ball. I thought he was really well adjusting midair. Strong hands to bring the ball in. He's criticized for not having great bursts off the line. I thought he had some pretty solid bursts, and I thought he moved well at the line of scrimmage, getting out of his breaks. But I'll still need to see some more reps of him doing that. Not the greatest top end speed, but he's got some long strides, and so I think that can develop into breaking away a little bit more. I think he gets the job done, and then when you watch him as a run blocker, Ole Miss is an offense where Lane Kiffin tries to get the ball out quickly, whether it be in the screen game or just getting it to their playmakers in space. I thought he was an aggressive run blocker down the field, so there's a lot to like with Trey Harris,
especially with the 6'3" frame. I thought
6'3", 210.
The note that I have is he has some of the best hands in the class.
Yeah,
he can high point the football. He's able to take contact with the frame and roll with it as well. He was a great deep ball threat, nearly 18 yards per catch over his career. Not in one season, 18 yards per catch in his career. They utilized him quite a bit. He could be the next in a long list of Louisiana caliber tight ends. I mean, CeeDee Lamb came from Louisiana, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Brian Thomas Jr. He's right there in that same mix.
He had 1,000 yards in 8 games.
Yeah, hurt his foot. Yeah,
that's wild.
Where do you guys have to take him?
44.
You think he's there at 44?
If he's there.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be there. I don't think I would take him at 12.
No.
But he would be a perfect. I would do a cartwheel if he's there at 44.
Is there guys you have at 44 better than him?
At that point, no.
Matthew Golden, Texas.
Tell me about him.
Oh my God. I understand that I have Texas bias, but this kid's incredible, even dating back to his days at Houston. Klein Kane High School in the Houston area. I thought coming out of high school, he's a 4-star prospect. I thought he should have been in the SEC. I don't know how Houston got him, but that was fantastic. His cuts and just incredible. He just glides all over the place. I think he's great out of his breaks. Great at the line of scrimmage and able to beat DBs very quickly. I thought towards the end of the year, he really showed his ball skills as well on the outside. I didn't think that would be as showcased, but watching against Georgia in the SEC championship game, there were a couple of balls he had down the sideline where he's just making incredible adjustments midair to go back and get them. Really good hands, some of the better hands in the class, finds ways to win, even with perfect coverage. I mentioned that SEC championship game against Georgia. And then he can add the ability, too, as a return specialist. I think he had 2 returns for a touchdown in his last season at Houston, and he played back there for Texas. They didn't kick the ball to him very much, but I really like Matthew Golden.
Let me just say what I love about wide receivers like that is when you watch a lot of Ewers, like in passing, you'll go, all right, Ewers is cool. But when you watch Golden and you see some of the passes that he has to catch, you go, damn, boy, why you was putting the ball all over the place? Yeah. But Golden catches everything. High, low, way in front of him, behind him. Arizona State in the playoff game took that game over.
Oh, my God.
And it feels like
7
Texas,
catches, 149
Helm is
yards.
the same way at tight end. When you watch him, he's making all kinds of crazy-ass catches.
I like him a lot.
It feels like they took a while to get him going, but once he got going, he would just tear everything up. I got him as a first rounder, and I know I'm probably minority there. Yes.
And you've got what, 12 first-round grades?
I ain't got a lot. I got 12. Yes, sir.
Wow.
I got 12. So I got him in the one, and I just love how it's just small. He was very purposeful with his route run. I thought he was slow at first, but I was like, oh, you're just changing tempo to set people up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I think that's a valuable big boy wide receiver trait. So I got him at the one, man.
I'm with you, Voss.
Do you have a first-round grade on him,
Yeah,
too?
it's first-round grade on him. Here's the thing. I think with Texas this year, I think they were trying to –
You need to be worried that you're in the same boat with this guy.
Yeah, no, I promise I'm not.
Talk about my wins.
All right. Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Beamer. Isaiah Bond was kind of like, okay, let's try and get him the ball, and this is our guy. Yeah. And then he kind of has a shaky start to the year, and he goes down with the injury. And then you look at Golden, and it's like, oh, okay. So he's probably our best receiver out here. Let's try and get him the ball. And towards the end of the year, like you mentioned, I mean, he just took over that 4th and 13 against Arizona State. Just a nasty route to get open in the back of the end zone. And then even against Ohio State, he got hurt early in that first half, but he comes back, and I think his first play, he makes a diving catch on an out route right around the sidelines. So, yeah, I have a first-round grade on him. I think he's fantastic.
Can I interest anybody in Besh from TCU?
Yeah, we brought him up a little bit last week.
Okay,
right?
Can I interest anybody? Anybody seen Higgins? We talked about him.
He was going to be one of my
Higgins,
guys.
Iowa State.
He was going to be one of my guys I talked about, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Go ahead.
Okay. No, go for it.
Previous school, Eastern Kentucky, balled out in the FCS, ended up getting transferred to Iowa State. Yeah, you talk about 50-50 ball. You talk about speed.
One of the best in the country.
You talk about long speed too. Those long strides he has at 6'5". I mean, this kid is 6'4", 215 pounds. He's going to be at the Senior Bowl next week. I think this time next week we're going to have a much different perspective on Jaden Higgins. I think as a whole, I think he's going to blow up next week. Wow. And I think this is a second-round talent. I do. Now that you talk about, okay, if Trey Harris is not there at 44, I think this might be a guy that you look at 44 eventually. Yeah.
Is Stanford wide receiver? Have we talked about him at all?
Eric or Elick?
What's fascinating about him is he absolutely destroyed Travis Hunter last year.
Second half of a game in 2023.
Just
in one
obliterated
half.
him.
In one half, 2 quarters.
Obliterated him. Now, the production is good aside from that, but I wonder how much we value him if we just take that game out. I know we can't take the game out because it's very valuable because it's up against, generational talent we talked about in the first segment. But if you take that game out, where do you stack him up? And I don't have an answer for that. It's really tough. It's really tough for me.
He's
I think
also
there's
a
more
Senior Bowl
question marks
guy.
about him. He's another Senior Bowl
He'll
guy.
be there.
He's another guy that hasn't had the luxury of a quarterback throughout his time at Stanford.
Sure.
So, how much do you value that too? But I like the kid.
He's a young cat, right? He's coming out as a redshirt sophomore.
He's a Canadian kid too, by the way. Didn't play. He had to come down here to play high school football, but this guy's got the straight line speed, and I think he can track the ball. And you mentioned about the thing, if you could watch him play against Travis Hunter, that Stanford was dead in the water, and they made one of the most miraculous comebacks you'll ever imagine. And our guy, he was taking the ball off the top of Hunter's head to tie the game. He's had a one-handed catch. Just watching the Syracuse game, he had a one-handed catch for a touchdown by High Point in the ball against Syracuse. I mean, he fights the defender down the field. I mean, when I was talking about ex-receivers, this is the guy I was thinking about at 6'2", 210. Yeah. I mean, he in a route runner and all that, he hasn't benefited from a quarterback that's been any good. But I tell you what, man, this guy, he's made the most of the opportunities he's had with the ball being all over the place to him. So I was kind of thinking, I have him in the second round. He reminded me, we all remember, and maybe it's a poor compare, Brendan Rice when he was at USC.
Okay.
When we watched Brendan Rice, and it seemed like Williams was kind of throwing the ball and he was having to make catches all over the place and stuff like that. This kid reminded me a little bit of Brendan Rice, who's now with the Chargers that way.
Alec Iomanor.
Iomanor.
Right? Yeah.
I know we're having conversations about X's, but I think the overall conversation is
Just wide receivers.
who would you pair with CD Lamb?
Yeah.
And if you're looking for a Robin in this class, to CD's Batman, you look at Emeka Egbuka, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And throughout his 4 seasons at Ohio State, has never been the leading receiver.
Never has.
Never been the leading reception grabber.
He comes in as a Robin.
And he comes in as a Robin.
Right.
And the Ohio State career receptions leader is now Emeka Egbuka. You think about all the guys that have gone through there.
Yeah.
Now, granted, there's a lot of guys that have only been there 3 years, but you think about all the receivers that they've had. He has been a Robin throughout his career at Ohio State. I think he's a fascinating one. And I think if you want 2 chess pieces, you're talking about, 2 CD Lambs, that's not bad to have. Sure. I think it's you that brings up that idea. Yeah. I think this would be an idea of that. I think this guy can play anywhere.
Where did you put him? Second round? 44?
I have a second round grade on him, but if they were to pick
Egbuka?
him at
he's a 1 on my book.
If they were to pick him at 12, you wouldn't get an argument from him.
No.
At 12?
Yeah, you wouldn't get an argument.
Why do you have a first round grade on him?
Because he's a damn good player. And you're right.
I'm a little stingy. That's
no. I mean, hey, and I like I say, I've got 3 wide receivers in the first round, but this guy, he is so competitive. He's aggressive with the run after catch. He can break tackles. He's got body strength. He's got power. He's a versatile weapon. You can use him on jet sweep, pop pass, smooth route runner. He's a discipline with his cuts. The best routes he runs are those ones across the field. He does a great job of catching the ball on the move, turning up the field. He makes plays at all levels of the defense. He's quick. He's athletic. He gets the top speed really quickly. The long arms allows him to play much larger than he is. I think that there's some things you're going to have to work on him with the consistency, getting off the line on the outside. But man, he could track it. There's so many great things about this guy that you have to really, really appreciate about his game. There's been some drops in his day, but I'll tell you what, he's played in a ton of big games his career. He's very driven. He's a serious athlete. And, I mean, I think this kid really, really gets it. Listen to him talk.
Yeah. Lots of good points across the board. Anybody else anyone wants to bring up? We got.
Have you guys seen?
Left.
Have you seen? Anybody seen Royals from Utah State yet?
Somebody asked about him.
He's one I want to, just because the
All right, well, let's circle back on Royals. He's a wide receiver from Utah State.
Yeah.
I'm sure Vach and I will probably talk about him sometime at nighttime, but we'll talk about him too here as well.
Just 2 quick names I could throw out. I mean, I'm super quick. I know I've mentioned Nick Nash out of San Jose State.
Yeah, I got to do that one.
He led the nation in receptions and receiving yards in 2024. 6'3", 195 pounds. I think he's a little slender. He could add some weight, but I think he could be an X option. And we don't talk about the Hula Bowl a whole lot, but it's a all-star game.
Used to.
Yeah, used to.
Used to watch a lot of tape for the Hula Bowl.
That has allowed a lot of guys to pop in recent years. Rock Taylor out of Memphis, 6'3", 215 pounds. He blew everyone away in Orlando at the Hula Bowl. So, yeah, not Hawaii, Orlando.
I can tell you about Rock Taylor from Memphis from my
American
covering
days.
the American Athletic Conference. He's fun.
They got a good team in Memphis. They play good football.
Quarterback's going to be down in the Senior Bowl. Seth Hennigan, late add to the Senior Bowl roster.
Denton Ryan product.
Denton Ryan, yeah, absolutely. All right, that does it for us here on the Draft Show. Appreciate you all taking some time and listening with us this week. We'll be back on Tuesday, 11 a.m. Central Time, to break it all down for you. Tommy and I and Nick will be in Mobile, so Zach Wolchuk will host on Tuesday. We've got some exclusive content from Mobile coming your way, including player interviews. We've got a radio roast spot out there at the convention center.
There you go.
And I've also talked to Dane Brugler already. Expect to hear from Dane Brugler while we're out there in Mobile. Practices for the Shrine Bowl start on Saturday up in Denton. Then we fly out on Monday to have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday as a part of the Senior Bowl before the Shrine Bowl Thursday night. Going to be a whole lot of fun this next week as we continue to dive in under 90 days away from the NFL Draft. For Nick Harris, Foch Lombardi, Tommy Yarish, Brian Broaddus, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long from the Draft Show. We will see you on Tuesday.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?